The comfort of childhood dinners. A journey through lower middle-class cuisine. Do you ever find yourself longing for the simple, hearty meals of your childhood? Those dinners that filled your belly and your heart, even if they weren't fancy. Well, that's because they were real. And they were made with love and care, no matter how tight the times were. Today, we are taking a trip down memory lane to explore the 7 dinner staples that still bring a wave of nostalgia and comfort to anyone who grew up in a lower middle-class household. Get ready to reminisce about the meals that defined your childhood and made you feel like you were part of something special. 1. Spaghetti bolognese, the event food. Spaghetti bolognese wasn't just dinner, it was an event. It started with a kilo of mince, a jar of sauce, if you were fancy, or tinned tomatoes and a cube of stock if money was tight. There'd be chopped onions, maybe a bit of garlic if it was payday, and always dried pasta boiled to within an inch of its life. The smell of onion gravy simmering still takes me back to childhood. It wasn't fancy, but it was ritual. And the best part? It lasted. You'd eat it Monday night, and then again on Wednesday when it came back as leftovers. Sometimes it even morphed into toasties or pie filling by Friday. 2. Shepherd's pie, leftover magic. Shepherd's pie was the unofficial champion of stretching ingredients. If there was leftover mince from the night before, it didn't go to waste. It got a new identity, mashed potatoes on top, grated cheese if you were lucky, and into the oven it went. The smell alone could make you forget you were eating the same meal twice. For many lower middle-class families, shepherd's pie wasn't a treat, it was strategy. It turned scraps into something that felt like comfort. 3. Tuna pasta bake, midweek survival hero. If there was ever a meal that defined practicality, it was tuna pasta bake. Just 3 ingredients, pasta, tinned tuna, and whatever creamy sauce you could whip up, often Campbell's condensed soup. Top it with breadcrumbs or grated cheese, bake until golden, and suddenly you had dinner for 5 and lunch for tomorrow. To a kid, it was heaven. To an adult looking back, it was genius. 4. Sausages with onion gravy and instant mash, currency of the lower middle class. In lower middle class homes, sausages were currency. They were cheap, filling, and versatile breakfast, lunch, or dinner. But the dinner version was special: fried sausages, onions caramelized just enough, and instant mashed potatoes whipped with a splash of milk to make them fluffy. If you were lucky, there'd be peas or corn on the side straight from the freezer, of course. The smell of onion gravy simmering still takes me back to childhood. It wasn't fancy, but it was ritual. 5. Curried sausages, weeknight miracle. You could always tell times were tight when curry powder came out. Curried sausages were the ultimate budget meal, sausages sliced into rounds, stewed in a sauce made of curry powder, onion, and if you were lucky a splash of cream, or a spoonful of fruit chutney. It wasn't Indian curry. It wasn't authentic. But it was ours. There was something magical about the smell, that comforting mix of mild spice and sweetness. Served over rice, it made everyone feel like they were eating something special, even when it cost next to nothing. 6. Homemade rissoles, the fancy night in. If you grew up lower middle class, you knew that rissoles were mum's attempt at elevating mince night. Basically, it was seasoned mince formed into patties, fried until crisp, and served with, you guessed it, mashed potatoes and frozen vegetables. But when mum made rissoles, it felt like an occasion. She'd mix in breadcrumbs, egg, onion, and a splash of Worcestershire sauce, shaping them carefully by hand. You didn't need restaurant steak when you had those. They were crunchy on the outside, soft in the middle, and perfectly imperfect. 7. Sunday roast, the one meal that made everyone feel rich. Sunday roast wasn't an everyday dinner, it was an event. A whole chicken or piece of beef, roasted with potatoes, pumpkin, and carrots. Gravy made from scratch if your parents had the energy, or from a packet if they didn't. The smell filled the whole house. You'd hover around the oven, waiting for that first crack of crispy potato or juicy meat. In lower middle-class homes, Sunday roast was less about luxury and more about tradition. It was the meal that said, "We made it through another week." It brought everyone together, no phones, no rushing, no TV. Just family, laughter, and a table full of mismatched plates. Why these meals still matter. As I spoke with friends from similar backgrounds, I noticed something: we all light up when we talk about these foods. It's not just nostalgia, it's connection. These meals remind us of simpler times, yes, but also of what it meant to make do, to share, to appreciate what we had. They remind us that happiness wasn't about having more, it was about having enough. Psychologists call this nostalgic resilience, the way positive memories from the past can help us feel grounded and grateful in the present. And it's true, when life feels overwhelming, remembering those humble dinners brings comfort. Because those meals weren't just food, they were proof that love doesn't need luxury. The hidden beauty of lower middle-class cooking. Looking back, I realize something my parents probably never did: those simple meals were a form of art. They turned scarcity into creativity. They stretched what little we had and made it taste good. And though I can afford nicer meals now, I still find myself drawn to that same spirit, to the honesty of food made with care, not cost. Maybe that's why, even today, I still make spaghetti bolognese the way Mum did. No fancy ingredients. No imported sauce. Just simplicity and soul. Final thought. When I think about what it means to grow up lower middle class, I don't think of what we lacked. I think of those dinners, and how full they made us feel, in more ways than one. Those meals were love disguised as leftovers. They were togetherness in the shape of tuna pasta bake and mashed potatoes. They were proof that comfort doesn't come from fine dining, it comes from knowing someone cared enough to cook for you. And honestly, I wouldn't trade that kind of comfort for anything.